So, welcome to another episode of our C-level workshop, to another interview. And today I have a special guest, Larry Bonastalli. Hello, Larry.
Hey, how are you, Bernd? Hey, thank you for having me, first off.
Yeah. So we have to admit, last time it didn't work. We had technical issues with the interview. So it's we are redoing it today, and it will be much better than last time. Larry, please, you are in Best Ager icon in the US. You are very well known, and you are an ambassador for this group, for this generation. Maybe you introduce yourself briefly and tell us how you got there.
Yeah, for just a little bit about me, I'm 72 years old. I'm an unretired U.S. tech CEO. Currently now I'm more a life coach, an executive coach, and a mentor to all generations. I'm a 35-year, have been a 35-year social services volunteer in the areas of adult literacy and poverty alleviation, mostly in the inner cities. I'm an animal advocate, dog rescue and horse rescue. I'm a Best Ager advocate, lifestyle and wellness blogger, model 70 plus. How older Americans are portrayed plays an important role in shaping cultural attitudes. So I'm very passionate about what I'm doing at this point in my life. And I'm an ambassador for Stanford Center on Longevity in Stanford, California. I'm, between two locations. And we incorporate multiple less linear routes through life, hence the new map of life, which is available. You can pull it up, newmapoflife.stanford.edu. And basically there's more on-off ramps that we want to promote as people live longer. Many of them live to be 100. Could be our kids, could certainly our grandchildren. And they have to plan at a very early stage, number one, how they can afford, but number two, how are they going to live to be 100? And then the whole situation of wellness, lifestyle, health, food, community, where do I live? All that enters into the equation. So I'm honored to be associated with Stanford, but more importantly, I have a passion at this point in my life, after being in the corporate world 45 years, to help others better understand where we are.
Well, thank you, Larry. So you are saying you are a Stanford ambassador for this generation, for this period of life. You are a model, and you are giving an example to the people 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus. You are showing them life is beautiful, life is interesting. Why do you think this is necessary to show?
Why is it necessary? I think it's part of what I do too is teach. I teach. I'm a facilitator in college universities, and on this subject matter. So I think it's important at a very young age for young people, young students, to really start thinking. And I think the younger generations today are really have a much better understanding of this than we ever did. So I think it's, and personally myself, I started young, very young. I'm an athlete. I've always been an athlete. I've always, been very big on wellness. I've always been good on healthy lifestyle. And so I want other people, I want to be that advocate. I want to help people better understand how they can live longer lives, healthier lives, happier lives. And in order to do that, you need to start at a young age, have a better understanding of it. And as we were speaking earlier, Bernd, I also think there is a period of time between your 50s and I'm in my 70s. So I think there are people in their 50s that don't even know what the hell's going to happen to them in their 60s and their 70s, or how they're even going to address these issues. So I feel as a person in their mid 70s, I can really help them to better understand what happens with this body between the ages of 50 and 60, especially health wise, the different things you need to be cognizant of. Taking care of yourself, staying alive is a full-time job. And then you have the whole healthcare situation, at least here in America, that is, it's the best in the world, but it's also, you have to be affluent to be able to afford some of the healthcare that you need in order to survive.
Okay, thank you for that. And we said today we wanted to talk a little bit about social isolation, loneliness, and mental health in your age for the older generation. And I would like to come back to what you said. When you're 50 years old, yeah, you are full of power, and you are in a situation where you don't feel old. Yeah? But our society denies this aging period, denies the necessities for this generation, and also most of us ourselves deny it. But when you are 50, you know there will be a time when you lose your corporate job. Uh, there will be a time when you maybe start a second career or you go on pension. But that day you go on pension, you lose all your privileges, all your attributes. You lose your company car, your telephone, and you have less money. So the whole life changes at that point. So it's better to be prepared and to really think about it when you are in your 50s.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I believe, especially with the male gender, not so much, well, women too, but men have a more difficulty communicating with other men. And men have fewer friends. I mean, not every guy is a guy's guy. And and I believe it's from your 50s into your 60s where the whole social isolation and the social connection is needs to be paramount, and in many cases it just is not. That's where the lack of relationships and frequent and social contact happens. That's where the loneliness or the perception of being lonely happens. And one of the most powerful drivers in physical and emotional well-being is social connection, and it's lacking. And and when you don't have the social connection, I mean, there are ways of acquiring that social connection, through your workplace. But when the workplace isn't there anymore, you have to find community programs. You have to be an advocate for anti-ageism and age prejudice. So it's just, I think the whole loneliness, social connection, developing healthy brain power, and growing your brain, lifelong learning is what I call it. And that's one of the things we do, in California, is stress lifelong learning. You're never going to lose out by continuing to learn, whether it be new technologies, whether it be whatever it is that you want to learn and acquire. So lifelong learning is something that we in America, the way our educational system is set up, after 22 or 23, the lifelong learning is less prevalent, and it's all about making money and having the career, having the job, having the kids, getting married, type of house you live in, all that kind of stuff. I think there's going to be, I know there will be, more on and off ramps for people to evaluate their life, improve their life, and hopefully address this whole social isolation. It's a thing. I mean, here in America, 8 out of 10, 8 in 10 Americans have depression. That's heavy. So, and that's across all lifespans. So it's not only from the 50 to 70, we're talking young kids too, or younger kids, young parents.
8 of 10, you said. This is 80%.
Yep.
This is a lot.
And then when you look at the from the 50 to 80-year-olds, of course, COVID didn't help the situation. But when you look at social isolation, the numbers, I believe in June of 2020, and that was like really hardcore COVID, the isolation, people felt more isolated between the ages of 50 to 80. That percentage, I think, was 56%. In December of 2023, it's gone down somewhat, but it's still high. It's 34%. So the whole isolation issue is one that it's an issue.
Yes.
And it needs to be talked about. And men need to be more open about truly how they feel.
Yes. Can we go? Please let us go back to this one point again. When at the time when you leave your job, I'm not talking about losing your job. This sometimes happens, but when you leave your job, so when you have less money, when you have less status, when you have less social interaction, you discover that your body doesn't function anymore as a 20 years old, and you also see that the generation, the whole society doesn't appreciate you. Maybe that's at least your feeling, your impression. How to overcome this feeling? I mean, this has to lead in mental health problems. When I look around in the streets, many people in this age, they dress in grayish colors, and they certainly don't want to be seen. How do you overcome this feeling that you not feel appreciated anymore?
Well, first off, it's a mindset.
Yes.
And there's a lot of negativity out there, and there's a lot of negative people out there. So you have to have a mindset, a positive mind shift, shall we say. And we have a tendency to sort people into buckets, and there's a lot of opportunity for change. One of the things we do at Stanford is we have these 7 pillars of Stanford lifestyle medicine. And, number 1 is movement and exercise. So, you have got to, and the only way you can improve is to, number 1, like yourself. Number 2, you have got to, take control of the situation. You need to move, you need to exercise, you need to have better nutrition or healthier nutrition. The social engagement is part of that. And you know what people take for granted is basic gratitude and reflection. People aren't thankful enough, and they don't reflect on the good things they've had in life and how things can be better. Because you're 50 doesn't mean you're hanging out there. No, it isn't. That's I believe when life really starts, and you have some of the freedoms that you've always wanted, and but you have to plan accordingly. And so on the new map of life, we try and help people better prepare for what could occur in life. But the health you mentioned earlier, the health breaks down. The body breaks down if you allow it to break down. So if you're going to move, if you're going to exercise, your body won't break down as quickly. And if you do it on a regular basis and you're not in denial and you don't have all the excuses in the world, you'll be fine. Of course, there's chronic illnesses that do occur, especially from the ages of 50 to 80. That does happen. That does happen. And unfortunately, it takes lives, but not everyone has a chronic illness. So you got to work on yourself. And it's not always easy. That's a full-time job in itself, but so
Yes.
much of it stems from up here.
Yeah,
And,
it's
and you
maybe,
know, being motivated,
yeah.
you can change who you are.
Yes, and it's maybe sometimes also a question of attention, awareness, and focusing the right things. I mean, when you are in your working life, you are full in your rat race. I mean, you are working like hell, like crazy all the day, and then you maybe buy things, more and more things, bigger cars, bigger houses, which you
That you
maybe
don't need.
don't need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that too. But you know, you become a lot wiser,
Yes.
and less is more.
Yeah. But when you are in your 60s and you suddenly can't walk anymore, or really walk anymore, or move, then I mean, the biggest car is useless. Yeah. So you have to also focus on yourself, on your health, and also on your flexibility in life. Yeah.
Right, and where you live is important. You know, place matters, and you know where you live is very important. You want to be able to exercise. You want to be able to move. You want to be able to hike. You want to be able to swim. You want to be able to take in the fresh air. You know, the food chain is part of the problem, and you know the processed food. I know it's not as bad in Europe and in Asia, but in the U.S., I mean, there's a the obesity problem is obese. It's out of control, and a lot of that, you know, has to deal with the proper nutrition. You talk about your body breaking down, all the chemicals in the food that you eat. You know, we need whole foods. We need good natural food.
Yeah.
And again, you know, you need to control that. You need to take control of that,
Yes.
and you'll see that there are other alternatives to medication that you can control in life. I'm a
Yes.
believer in the science. I'm a believer in the medication, but I also believe you got to take charge of the holistic side of things too, and look at, okay, how can I improve this situation? What alternatives are there available, you know, to me?
Yeah. So doesn't it mean, when I sum it up what we discussed today, doesn't it mean that we have to, at latestly in our 50s, we have to start to prepare for the next period in life. We have to be preparing for a healthy next period, for a healthy life, for an interesting life, for a life which is filled with something. So that
Plus,
means,
we're all working. We're all working more, and I don't mean that in a negative way. We have an opportunity to have more flexibility in our work, but we're working longer than we were, shall we say, our parents' age.
yes,
And working longer, you know, is a good thing. I really believe it's a good thing. But you have to also, when we talk about, you know, lifelong learning, you need to be able to have interest and to want to learn more, whether it's in your field, where there's always advancements, to you know, new things you wanted to learn that you couldn't learn when you were in your 30s and 40s because you were too busy living life, and making ends meet. So yeah, those are all components that contribute.
yeah. I mean, I can only recommend this lifelong learning because one thing is you need this knowledge, but the other thing is, I mean, it gives you also a good feeling when you managed to learn something, or to maybe make a certain degree, or to really endeavor a certain topic. So this gives you a good feeling. The same with exercise and bicycle
Oh,
driving.
absolutely. You know, I said earlier the change is up here.
Yeah.
And if you don't make that change up here, many times in your not so much 50s, but 60s and 70s, I hear so many acquaintances say, "Oh, I'm too old for that. I
Yeah.
can't do that." Well, right there, that's the whole mindset issue kicking in.
Yes.
And if that's changed and you're healthy and you take care of yourself, I mean, there's no guarantees what's going to happen tomorrow, but there's certain things you can manage in life.
Yes.
And having that positive attitude, having that, because you're 60 or 70 doesn't mean you can't do it. Now, if your health sucks and you can't walk and you've got diabetes and all that stuff is going on in your body, yeah, you can't do that. But
Yes.
it's again changing your lifestyle with a lifestyle and wellness, and as young as possible.
Yeah. So that
I mean, and eating the foods. I can't tell you the last time I went through, number one, a drive-through, which is the most absurd concept in the world. Number two, anything that's fast food. I mean, and it's freaking expensive. Talk about saving money.
yes.
Make it at home. Learn to make it at home. It's a new project. Learn to cook.
Yeah.
Learn about nutrition.
Yeah. This is right. So it's also like that. We don't have to wait we don't have to expect companies to solve the problem, or society or politics. So it's our own responsibility to get this done and to get
Companies aren't going to solve the problem.
No.
Whether it be the managed care companies, the drug companies, they don't want to solve the problem, and that's a whole nother issue. But they don't want to solve the problem. The corporations don't really care about you as much as you think they do. So it's all about the bottom line, and it's so you got to care about yourself and your longevity, because they're not going to.
Yeah, it's
and I'm not being negative Norman about that. I'm just saying kind of a fact of life. I've been around a while. With age comes wisdom too.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot.
Yes.
And I've experienced a lot.
Yeah.
But I was also a leader in motivating people and wanting people around me to be better than me. And when you have that mindset as a leader, as a CEO, my God, not only are you making good money, but the people around you are making good money too. And everyone is rewarded, and it's a happy situation. And you build up people's desire to be good, to be the best at what they are. That doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything. It's all part of good leadership, which lacks today, I think, a lot in corporations. When I've done a lot of consulting with some fantastic organizations, and when I see, shall we say, managers, the directors, the vice presidents in some of these companies, and how they conduct themselves, and how it's all about me, not us. And there's some bad managers out there. So forget the companies. Either have your own company and build your own culture, or work within that organization, and work on yourself.
Yes. So that's the consequence. Huh? So don't wait for them. So what we need is leadership with ourselves, manage ourselves.
I was fortunate as a young person of 23. I'm saying truly, from my age of 23 to 30, I had legitimate, genuine mentors, people, other business people. And I was with the largest manufacturing steel company in the United States at the time. I was recruited from college in this elite group where we were, given a 10-year management program, and we were supposedly going to be running this company down the road. Well, I got out of there in 7 years, but during that period of time, I had good mentors that taught me not only good people skills, presentation skills, taught me things that you don't learn in school. And I think young people today are lost in many of it with lack of good mentorship,
Yes.
whether it be at home, whether it be, in the work environment. And people are basically impatient too today. Everyone needs everything right away.
Yes.
Shit doesn't happen quick all the time.
Okay, Larry, I think we are at the end of our interview. So it was very interesting. And what do you recommend at the end to our listeners and viewers? Please sum it up to a short statement.
Well, I think social connectivity is one of the most basic and crucial parts of human life. That's how I'm going to sum it up. But that's not going to happen unless you make the change up here. You don't want to be stuck in the past. Move to the future. Make the change up here. And I was recently in a liquor store, and the lady, I was looking for a certain bourbon, and the lady said to me, and she actually, I had a Stanford cap on, and she said to me, she said, "Oh, so what do you do there?" And I said, I teach lifestyle and wellness, and promoting it out, to corporations. And she says, "Well, if you had to sum up in one or two words, what's success?" And my thing was movement and exercise.
Yes.
And she looked at me and she said, "Awesome." I said, "Yeah, pretty easy." But it starts here.
Yeah. I would also like to add openness, open up to life.
Yeah, exactly. And life throws a lot of curveballs. So you need to know how to pivot and maneuver, especially if you're going to stay in the corporate world.
Yeah. Okay, Larry, I thank you very much for today.
My pleasure. It was great talking to you, and I hope to see you again. And we can talk forever on a lot of things.
Yes. See you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.